It's a good day to be alive and to be here to have very serious discussions about housing affordability in Nigeria. So without taking your time, we'll just go right into it and introduce our panelists for the day, where we discuss housing affordability in Nigeria. But of course, I stand on all the existing protocol and we take cognizance of all the amazing people standing in front of us. So we will start by inviting the first panelist of the day, Mr. Adeniyi Aro Molaran, aka AA Transformer. AA the Transformer. We are happy to have you, sir. Thank you. You can sit, make a choice of seat anywhere to the left or right to the seats. Next on the panel for this interesting discussion we're going to be having is the MD of WEMA Board, Nigeria, Mr. Yemi Ejidiran. Please, sir. Join us up here. Thank you. And also, we have from the bank that keeps moving you forward. We hope we can continue to make housing affordability better in Nigeria. Stanbic. From Stanbic Bank, we have Mr. Tola Akinhomi. Please join us. And finally, somebody here has already mentioned the name of the company. They've done amazing things in the Nigerian real estate space. They've literally turned water to wine. We all know them. Many of you, before you were born in this room, they existed. And they've done so much in impacting the lives of people. Please, ladies and gentlemen, if your hands are not too busy, please make welcome the MD of UPDC, Mr. Odunayo Ojo. Hey, the Transformer, you have my seats. You can. Okay, so it's fine, it's fine. I wanted to be in the middle so that it's easy to swing left or right. So, before we go right into the session, I'll just make a very brief introduction of what we're going to be talking about today, about housing affordability in Nigeria. Please permit me, this is going to take less than 2 minutes. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to take your mind back to a bustling street in the Lagos metropolis, where the sun casts its warm glow on a vibrant city full of hope and prosperity. In the midst of this energetic home in the city, a young family somewhere in Lagos that you would know huddles together in a cramped, dilapidated room, lacking good ventilation, devoid of a proper sewage system, surrounded by a polluted environment. Their aspirations for a better life overshadowed by the stark reality of unaffordable housing. This poignant scene encapsulates the profound challenge faced by countless families across Nigeria, highlighting the urgency of our discussion today, the dire need to unravel the complex web of challenges hampering housing affordability in our beloved nation. Today, this morning, we gather here to shine a light on the most pressing issues facing the communities, the profound challenge, again, of housing affordability in Nigeria. As we delve into this critical topic, we will explore the myriad of challenges that continue to hinder the realization of adequate and affordable housing for our people. What are the systemic barriers preventing the development of affordable housing, solutions for the growing population in our cities and rural areas? How do we grapple with the persistent land tenure issues and the complexities surrounding land acquisition processes that often impede the timely and cost-effective implementation of housing projects? Furthermore, how do we address the stark disparity between the rapid urbanization and the limited affordability of affordable housing options, particularly for the low and middle income families? What strategies can be employed to bridge this gap and ensure that every Nigerian has access to decent and affordable shelter? Moreover, how can we confront the significant cost implications associated with building materials and construction, which continue to escalate? Everybody quotes the dollar these days, making it increasingly challenging to deliver deliver affordable housing solutions without compromising on quality and safety standards? What innovative approaches can be adopted to mitigate these rising costs and make housing more accessible to a broader spectrum of the society? How do we tackle the intricate web of financing constraints that hinder both developers and aspiring homeowners from accessing affordable housing options? How can we foster collaboration between financial institutions, governmental bodies, private investors, and create more flexible and sustainable financing models to cater to the diverse needs of the population? These questions and many more is what will be discussed today. Let's just get right into it. I would want you to join me, pay attention, put your questions down, and see how we can get more insights from these wonderful, fine professionals seated here who would not answer any question with "it is well, God will do it." They will tell us real-life, practical solutions that will help us. So, ladies and gentlemen, let the deep dive begin. Thank you very much to all the wonderful panelists seated here today. Thank you, and to the audience, of course. So, AAD Transformer, I'm going to start with you. And you have a mic next to your table. The problem is, depending on the data source you look at, everybody is quoting the housing deficit from 20 million homes to 25 to 28, depending on any data you want to pick. But we know that truthfully, it is a lot, and we need it. Another data is, did you know that the home ownership rate in Nigeria is one of the lowest in the world at 25%? Our neighboring South Africa here has about 65 to 70%, which means that in Nigeria, a few people own a lot of the homes. So the big problem with that is housing affordability. So AA, I'm coming to you with this one, AAD Transformer. How or what are the major challenges facing development of affordable housing in Nigeria, and what strategies do you think we can adopt to overcome these challenges?
All right, good morning. My governor, ably represented by my honorable commissioner, all other protocols observed. So challenges. Now, before I delve into those challenges, let me put things in concept, in proper context, what has informed some of my thoughts. So my mom, she's late now, Olori Mobolaji Agbeke Aromolaron. One day she called me and said, she had a television, obviously, in fact, in like 4 rooms. 4 rooms were upstairs, a massive room downstairs. And then she said, I want a new television. So I said, Mommy, why? She said she wants the television so that she can leave it for her grandchildren. So I paused. I said, grandchildren, they are not even born yet. She said, yes, in case I'm not around, you would tell them I bought this for them. So I told her, I said, Mom, by the time the grandchildren come, this will not be the kind of television. If you buy this television with other things that you have acquired, you're going to leave us with more trouble. And when I look in this room, I see many of us in that position. So she's passed on a while now. We're still dealing with how to get rid of all she left behind. We bought her the television, she insisted. The television is still sitting somewhere in the old house. The grandchildren are not interested in that television, definitely. That was number one. Number two was the fact that at some point we had to convert the study downstairs because she couldn't climb up anymore. So we had to convert it. But the house was not readaptable because they built it as a status mansion. Again, I look in this room and I see many of us in that position except myself, because I learned from the past. So the question is, why did we build that way? And why are we still building that way? And now, most of the new houses are on the 3-floor level, ground floor, first floor, second floor. Some have tried to put a lift, so you jump up the maintenance cost. But the question is, how do you want to sustain it as you go on? That was number one. So I began to ask myself, how should I build for now or for the future? And then God blessed me. My daughter studied architecture. Then while she was in school one day, she called me and said, Daddy, that building plan you have, that architectural drawing you're doing, stop. I said, why? He said, unless you're forgotten grammar, why are you building upstairs again? I thought we agreed a bungalow that you can do all things. And I thought you said in your mind that at some point, the prototype you will build, even if it's 3 floors, will be 2-bedroom on every floor. And then the 3rd level, we have a penthouse that you can use for short leg. So before short leg came, we've been talking about it because we had the experience in Dubai. And so we stopped. And then she asked a question. She said, who said that the children must have a room in the main house? So I looked at her and I thought, he said if you have 2 floors, 2 floors, 2-bedroom, can you people live on the ground floor? And we, the children, live on the next floor. So 1 room for the boys, 1 room for the girls. And then we let out the 3rd floor, which is the penthouse. It made sense. Because then I could live and earn in the same land. Now, why did I start that way? One of the challenges is the availability of land, affordable land, in the context of your design. But I know that at one point, we all stopped going flat and we started going up because there was no land. Part of what Lagos is doing, and our honorary commissioner has already spoken it, the mind of the governor on the Themes agenda, the Themes Plus agenda was land regeneration. So part of the solution is we're regenerating the land. But I see this, all of us seated here, and I'm asking myself, even before I came on, how many of us can pull down our whole building and build up now? And so it comes with its challenges. Those homes, the way it is built, we can't even readapt it. So it becomes difficult. Okay, so let me wrap up. The other challenge, which probably later somewhere I'll be able to talk about, is the financing. We already know that building materials are expensive. But the other question I've always bothered my mind is, why are the internal walls that heavy? So your external walls are 6 inches plastered, painted, screed, whatever. Why are the internal walls still the same size? Somebody said the parents don't want the children to hear what happens in the daddy's room. But the children already are inquisitive of how they came, so there is no problem. But Sholesi said the fact that, the gentleman also, we all lived abroad. I lived abroad before. And I realized that a whole building, Hollywood, by the rich and the status people in America and even in London, the internal walls are wood. There will be a solution if we're going to drive that down. I just need us to think differently. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, J.A. It says it starts with thinking differently. I hope everybody in the room who are stakeholders would take this to mind. Thank you very much. Mr. Odoyo, we're coming to you with this one. You guys have been around for a long time and you've done so much for the Nigerian real estate space. And a lot of us are looking up to you, to companies like you, to have like 100 UPDCs, 1,000 UPDCs, to continue to contribute to the housing deficit in Nigeria. you as a private sector entity, you've done so much that you can. The question now is, how much more do you think you can do if you have, the collaboration or backing of the government much more, if you have policies that support this space, if you have more funding that support this space? The question I'm trying to ask is, how can the government work collaboratively, with the private sector stakeholders to create a more affordable housing option for both, especially low and middle income earners in Nigeria?
Thank you very much for that question. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Congratulations to FIABCI on the 50th anniversary. So this is a topical issue which borders on challenges that players in this market have faced. What is the right kind of collaborative structure that needs to exist between the government and the private sector players like ourselves? We've always believed that risk should be placed in the hands of the party who is the most experienced and who is most placed to deal with the risk. Private sector players are very good at resource allocation, they are very good at attracting capital, and they're also very good at professional practice. Across the world, economies where business is driven mainly by the private sector tend to do much better. And government is also good at enabling the private sector perform with good policies and access to such enablers like tax credits and, in the case of Nigeria, infrastructure. So in our view, the combination of strengths that both parties bring to the table can really be useful in the rapid delivery of affordable housing. I'll start with one of the most complex parts of the value chain, which is land. In Nigeria today, by virtue of the governing laws of land, land is actually administered primarily through government, especially state government. So access to land that is developable and with the right kind of title and the right kind of infrastructure, I believe it can be facilitated to a large extent by the state governments. The cost of acquiring land and perfecting land, as we all know, is prohibitive. Sometimes it is a significant percentage of the value of the land that you need to be able to perfect your title. And that is a barrier for affordable housing, because ultimately all these costs will be transferred to the end user or the end buyer of that property. So if we can start from there, and I'm very glad that our Honorable Commissioner for Housing is here, and he can hear us loud and clear, in terms of some of the pains that we face as developers, the cost of access to land is too high, especially if we are talking about affordable housing. In the higher ends of the spectrum, maybe the wealthy can afford it, and the cost of the buildings can absorb the exorbitant cost of titling. But for affordable housing, this cannot be the case. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the speed of approvals. This can also help, that this can also be something that the government also does to help. Because time is money when it comes to development. If you have to wait 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 18 months in some instances to get some of your approvals done, speed to market becomes an issue. And with every single day, with interest that is paid to the banks, all these things build up. And then coming to the private sector, I think the private sector, through associations as FIABCI and so on, is able to reach a wider spectrum of investors across the world, bring this well-needed capital into the country and roll out houses, effectively manufacture houses. We also have a situation where, private sector can also, if the environment is right, source single digit. Hopefully we have our financiers here.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll be able to get single digit financing, retail financing, and also financing for developers to bring down the cost of development. So that partnership is very key, and I'm glad to hear some of the things that Lagos State is doing with the PPP office to marry those two powerful parties together.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adonia. So, listening to his answer, it's very natural for me to turn to your direction, Mr. Tola. You've heard about how land is one of the singularly most important component or biggest expense in the development space of real estate. So, coming from the finance sector, being right there, and you guys are very, very, instrumental to the development of every industry. So, how can you guys help people in the finance industry? Because right now we see that it's very difficult to get mortgages. For example, for most people who can get a mortgage, people are saying out there on the streets that they can almost save up to buy a house. The people who really qualify can really save to buy a house. The people who don't have a lot, it's very difficult for them to even meet that criteria. So now, it means innovation has to come into play, where all parties are protected, money is not lost. Because at the end of the day, people blame the banks, but it's not really the bank's fault, because they are sitting on deposited funds that they can also not lose. So it means we have to be innovative. What innovative financing models or policies, even from the government, do you think, if implemented, can help homeownership to be more accessible? Now, the important question is to a larger percentage. Remember the statistic I gave, that just Nigeria has homeownership rate of 25%, one of the lowest in the world, 2025, which means a few people own a lot of all the houses. And fellow South Africa and even East Africa, they are doing about 50 to 60%. So what innovation or innovative financing methods do you think players like you can bring to the marketplace?
Overextend. Thank you very much. Really appreciative to be here. Congratulations to FIABCI. This is not my first time at a FIABCI event. I didn't know they were this old. So 50 years is a lot, so congratulations to everyone that's involved in that. To deep dive into the question, so I'm happy to be here again, and really given the role that Stanbic has played in the real estate space. It's a sector that is critical for us. We take it quite seriously. And I'm happy that the topic we're discussing today is affordable housing. It's an area that we've not done a lot in. That is the truth. But there is a concerted effort to begin to scale the support within that space. And it cuts across, you mentioned more around the mortgage financing, but I think it's multi-pronged. It's also how do you finance the development, that's one side, and then how do you then cater for people to buy. And those two critical issues need to work together. That is the utmost truth about it. So I'll speak about it firstly from how do we want to support even the construction of the development. So we operate more from a financing point of view. So some of the things we've discussed here is around how do you institutionalize, how do you create more UPDCs. Because for financial institutions, it's easier to finance or to support institutional clients. You have your financials, you have structures that provide that comfort. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to protect the depositors' fund. So I think part of the critical nature, because there's a lot of development, but we have developmental institutions that corporate governance is able to raise money, not just debt, but loan is one side, but also ability to go to the market, capital market, to raise money, from via other capital market instruments. So that's the part of the financing part of it, right? The other side is also how are you able to then, given the kind of market we're in, some of our macro statistics means that it's difficult to finance at single digit rates. That's not what most of about it. Given some of the monetary policies that has to happen now, rates will go higher. You know, you're able to tackle some of the multiple issues, exchange rates, inflation, rates have to go higher. But I think there's still a silver lining there. So the message is not to say, yeah, these interest rates are high, but how do we then begin to cut part of the construction elements down, the materials? Because the point around even financing is that if you finance and you build to market quickly, you're talking about 1 year in interest rate, which can be passed down to the buyer. Now, you can pass it down to the buyer, so that's one, but there are different elements you should be implementing to reduce the overall cost. Now, so let's take it that you can then support the developers, they can create these multiple units. The other point is how do you, for banks to be able to also do that, you need a viable buyer market. And I think that is the bane of what we're trying to solve. And I think in the last year, 18 months, there have been various opportunities or solutions. One of it, I talked about it at the recent conference, I can't remember which one, is the fact that, you know, PENCOM, which is the regulator for open, allows you to be able to take out 25% of your pension savings as equity contribution to homes. That's a starting point. So we should at this point be saying where are the general, the affordable segment, people that are earning this level, what percentage of income can they even attract or as equity? That's a starting point. Because if we think about it, that their savings can actually be 10% of what the cost is. So that even has to tell us what we should is working to the answer, what you should develop at. Right? So that is an innovation that started work with the PENCOM authority to institutionalize. Now there's another part which is the innovative product that we've seen work in Kenya. We're trying to do the same here. Is off-plan financing of mortgages. So not waiting for the mortgages at the end. That also reduces the overall cost to the developer. Because actually, who is financing that project is not the developer. Is the buyer, you know, but you can only also avail that kind of product to institutional investors that you know that if I start at point A, I will get to the end. You know, so those are also part of it. And I think a third piece, which I'll give kudos to the likes of NMRC and some of our DFIs. You know, we've been speaking with them as bankers, and part of the solution is how, you know, they can bring in single-digit rates, complement that with the double digits that commercial banks have, so that you have a blended rate that's able to drive the cost lower. If you start from a sub 15 and start to trickle down, those are some of the solutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you very much. Very, very innovative indeed. We'll continue to explore that space. I'm coming to you, sir. So, urbanization is a thing all around the world. According to the World Bank, in Nigeria, about 53% of people live in, urban regions, and that is supposed to continue to be about 70% by 2050. So we can see an influx of people, moving from the rural areas to the urban areas. So, considering rapid urbanization here in Nigeria, what do you think that, what strategies do you think we can employ that would help for an equitable distribution of real estate, to people?
All right, thank you very much. Let me also add my voice to congratulate FIABCI on the celebration of this 50-year. One of the value that engagement of this nature brings to the table is what they call advocacy. I have concerns that most of these advocacy platforms has generated a lot of ideas which are probably not being followed up or is not deep enough for sustainable action to be taken. I do believe that the outcome of this engagement will lead to a productive implementation of action plans that may come out of this advocacy. Talking about urbanization and coming from Dr. Adedigbe's presentation, there is no gainsaying the fact that Nigeria is rapidly undergoing urbanization. And from the analysis of examples even about Lagos, it's more than important for us to understand that there is rapid urbanization not only in Lagos but in the entire country. The fact remains that it's important for government to play a key role in ensuring that we adopt the principles of PPP to enable housing to reach as many people as possible. And it doesn't have to be at the highest level. I observe that Lagos State government has done a lot in providing homes under the Lagos Home Schemes. But which market is that scheme targeting? So when we continue to target a narrow percentage of the population, chances are that there will be dearth of supply of real estate assets in the public space. And it's important that for government to be able to sustainably do that, there must be the engagement with practitioners, with property developers. There must be social incentive schemes that will have to be provided. The slums that we have all over today can be regenerated. We don't need to move folks in those slums out, but government can invest in the slums, enhance infrastructure, provide light, provide water, and that becomes another housing scheme for other category of people. Most of the folks here this morning are folks that can afford homes maybe in the region of 50 million, 100 million and above. The fact remains that most of those homes that you have are literally becoming dead assets. Dead assets in the sense that you have family, most of them are overseas. Maybe the father alone is staying here, the mother alone is staying here. You go overseas 3 months, you come back. Most of those homes are literally being run down. And that is one of the things that the government is, again, I do believe under PPP should also address. There are a lot of the dead assets we have in the country, generally, all over. And those homes are not being occupied. Meanwhile, we have millions of people looking for just affordable accommodation.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry? Can I go on?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I do believe that in closing, it's important for a PPP involving government, property developers, real estate practitioners to come and create ideas on how those homes can be built for people who are really in need of homes. You don't need to build gigantic mansions. In fact, those gigantic mansions are just for 2% or 3% of the populace. The real people that need homes are the ones that we need to concentrate on. What is government doing? I'm not talking of Lagos government doing. All over the country, what are they doing to ensure that there is affordable homes for those people in every area that we have populace, people who don't have homes to stay in?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Yemi. Our time is almost up. We'll go around again, one more question on it, but please, 2 minutes or less. Just let's wrap things up as quickly as possible for the next session. I'm coming to you, the Transformer. Yes, blockchain, technology, finance, what do you have to say? How can they help?
All right, let me put it all together. Let me leave this again.
2 minutes.
Yes, I believe that every solution is within us. So over the years, I've been thinking how affordability and the issue of blockchain. So affordability is not just the availability of those houses. Is that affordability or is also tied to a payment plan. So we have a payment plan, but we don't have a mortgage. So I thought about it and I said, each one of us, most of us here gets in our salary composition what is called housing upfront. Is it possible that your organization accumulates all those housing upfront and gives it to a developer and says this? Because they give you the housing upfront, it's not even sufficient to rent you the house you want. So you might as well start thinking. So I'm putting that on the table. The other thing I've always put on the table is this. So I get promoted to GM, and you buy me a status car for 76 million. And so I'm riding my house on the road. I've worked in the UK before, worked in the US, and I've never had that conversation of a status car. Now, if you look at the future, the next generation are not interested in status car. You see, Lagos is doing something, and if we look at the impact, the rail system is bringing a solution. I don't have to live in town if I can commute. That's number one. Number two, the younger generation, if you talk to them, they say to you that I buy a car, I drive it out, it becomes a liability. From the first day I drive it out, I begin to spend money on it. Why are you giving me a liability? And now, if they drive it out and I bring it back in the next 1 minute, they won't give them the 76. I'm dropping this on the table. It's time that the narrative changes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's a good one. I'm coming to you, sir. Internet of Things. In today's world, everything is connected to everything. So, what role do you think smart homes or smart home technology can play in improving the overall quality and sustainability of affordable housing projects? And how can these technologies be more accessible to the general public and population? You can 2 minutes, please.
All right. So I think some of our earlier speakers have touched on AI, and have touched on how technology is disrupting our lives, how we work and how we live. And we cannot overemphasize the importance of what technology will do for us in the future. So specifically to your question around smart homes and Internet of Things, I think first and foremost, it's going to improve the way in which people enjoy their homes in terms of content. Most people now stream their movies via Netflix or other streaming services. Those must come ready. Homes must come internet ready for them to be relevant in the future. Any developer that is not thinking about that is going to disappear. In addition to that, sustainability objectives can be helped by technology, given that you can use data to drive some of your decisions. So, for example, cooling. If you know that for 60% of the year, when it's raining and so on, you don't need to put on your air conditioning. And that's a study that's been done across Sub-Saharan Africa. So why do we always have to put on air conditioning? Because we do not know that there are times of the year that the temperature is cool enough that you actually don't need to use the kind of air conditioning that we use. So having that data can improve the experience that you share with your home, and having that data can also help you reduce your cost of utilities. Things like sensors, light sensors, even dual flushing systems and infrared toilets and things like that can help you reduce the use of water. Yeah. And so many other things that technology can be imputed in the way we build our homes. And the cost in use for people in the affordable sector can go down by technology being imputed.
Thank you very much. So to wrap things up, we just go around everybody. Closing short, closing remark, what do you think is the next big thing the government, the private sector, all stakeholders need to do to make housing more affordable? 1 minute.
Thank you. I wasn't expecting that, but I think what I'll just say is, as private sector, it's important to come together. It's important to drive towards institutional capacity, and from that standpoint, it's better if there's a term we use in banking finance where you syndicate a loan if it is big, just to scale up and be able to achieve it. So if we need to syndicate even development, let's do so that we can create capacity, skill. The bigger the problem, the bigger the solution. I think I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you very much. 1 minute.
All right, like I said, let me just summarize. 1, we need to think differently. 2, the narratives need to change. 3, our collaboration should be more realistic. The diaspora market is a huge market that can bring in FDIs. So in LSDPC, we have an agenda now build a future-ready LSTPC together. And when you're thinking of building a future-ready organization, you're thinking of building a future-ready people who can read the future, who can design houses that the future needs, so that the future comes to them, not that we are going to try and get the future interested in. So we're changing the way we want to build, so that the future can come to us. And who is this future? The next generation. We need to think of how the next generation is thinking. What is their priority? Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Your 1 minute, sir.
Thank you very much. At the heart of this conversation is what we term affordable homes. I'm sure we are all aware that there's nothing like affordable cement. There's no affordable reinforcement. And it is important for us, having those realizations, to consider conversation around other building homes. Why can't we be manufacturing homes? And I'll explain that briefly. Manufacturing homes supposes that you can get to site easily, put things together easily, use technology to deliver homes with speed. You are off. You reduce your cost, including interest expense costs. However, it requires a lot of investment. And I don't believe that this platform should create an engagement with financier, property developers, people in the built environment, to look at how we can create investment opportunity into production of homes by way of manufacturing homes using technology to deliver solutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Your 1 minute, sir.
Thank you. So, I believe that this is a complex problem and it requires collaboration. All of us, and that's why I like the platform that FIABCI has created for people from diverse sectors, diverse backgrounds. It takes all of us thinking in unison to be able to solve this problem. So collaboration will help us in the future.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all our amazing panelists for a wonderful session. Before we stand up and walk away, I'm being told we could take questions from the audience in another 5 to 10 minutes. So if anybody has questions, please mention who you are directing your question to, so it helps to get an answer.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I think I would like to direct my question to Mr. Nee from LSTPC. So I know in the 70s or 80s there was this new town development authority, entity that was set up by the Lagos State government, and places like Lekki and were top beneficiaries of that particular scheme. So I'd just like to ask two questions in one. What's the current state of that scheme, and what's the plan of the Lagos State government to open up other new towns, for development?
All right, thank you very much. The NCDA, should we take like 3 questions at once and answer them at once? Moderator, where's the MC? Because of time, sometimes that makes it faster. So please, I've noted your question, I will come back to you. Please, can we give the roving mic to the gentleman? Oh, you have the mic already. So that's what you please give to him.
Okay, good morning everyone. Standing on the existing protocol. My name is Osaike Alfred. So my question starts with a perspective. I read in the US recently, the White House, they are working on converting vacant offices to affordable homes. Now what they're doing is they've probably carried out a research where they found out that the model for working has moved from full operations 8 to 5, so it's hybrid, and they've done the analysis and they're rolling out policies in that regard. So my question will be more or less an opportunity, something for the government to think about. Government is at the top, and the tone at the top actually matters in everything we do in affordable housing. It's important for us as a community, as a country, to look at these things from the highest level. Because sitting here also, I'm asking myself, do we have a definite definition of affordable housing? Which houses are affordable to which categories of people? If you look at the Jacondi schemes. Today, we cannot even say that those are houses anymore because we delivered houses, but we did not ensure that they are sustainable in the market, existing in the sense of quality housing. So my question then, it could be anyone in the panel, looking at the value chain of housing delivery from design, finance, construction, occupancy and regeneration, how can we infuse all of this together so that we can establish what we truly call affordable housing? Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll take one more. Do you two want to go? Gentleman in glasses. Please, can you pass the mic to him?
Well, thank you very much. I think this is not really a question, but I mean, the gentleman before me just mentioned something about affordability. What really is affordable housing? I mean, we've got to be able to define it. My neighbor here, sorry, just a second. My neighbor here at UPDC, I mean, we're neighbors in the same building. I can't even afford their homes. And we're saying, let's have more UPDCs. Look, our problems are elitist, quite frankly. We've got to decide, how do we address the problem of housing? These housing are not affordable because of the way we think. Things have to change. Number one, houses have been built the same way since 1940s and 50s up until now. So, let's sit down together and find out and identify the problems. First, there is no way Lagos is not going to be a slum in the next 50 years. The reason is because everybody's moving here. We've got to spend some of Lagos money outside of Lagos so that folks stay here, they have all this infrastructure so that they don't come to it. Right? That's the start. Otherwise, there is nowhere in Lagos that won't be a slum. That's another thing. Then we're talking about financing. We're not going to get a single-digit interest rate in Nigeria in the near future. It's not going to happen. You know, the reason is because money is expensive. I've worked 30 years and I mean, money is so hard to find, right? So people that are having don't want to sell it cheap, right? So, blended finance is what we should be looking at. So we should look at grants, we should look at dollars, we should look at and blend the finance so that we can afford to give people something to think about. So the way we build houses, we've got to invest in research. That is fundamental. You see somebody talk about wooden houses and the rest of it. Look, there are things we have in Nigeria that have been used for many years that because of, education and all of us going abroad, we want to build just like they do in the UK or in other parts of the world. So I think we need to sit down, figure it out exactly what we mean by affordable housing and what do we need, what are the inputs we need to make these things happen.
Thank you very much. That's a wonderful question. And contribution at the same time. I'll take that as a question to your neighbor whose house you cannot afford. So define what affordable housing is. So please just note that down. The first question talked about the current state of the scheme you're doing. Yeah, so please let's just try and answer.
All right, NTDA is not just about New Towns Development Agency. It's opening on new places. It's also regenerating the old places. So there are one or two places where, for example, let me use Surulere, Akirele, and all of that. It's an area we're thinking of how to regenerate, maximize the land available, and try and take it up. But it comes with its own challenges. So there is redefinition of that role and the broadening of that role. That's one. So it's still ongoing. It's still as vibrant as possible. And like I said, there are many things that are also opening up new towns. The rail line is one, the waterways is one, so that ability to commute makes it easy for all of us not to concentrate on, I want to live in a town. So the idea of the new town development agency is also to ensure that basic infrastructure is available seamlessly. If that is available, the pressure on certain areas will diminish, will lower. But we also must understand that part of the challenge that you talk in the different types of financing is there must be some crowd financing. Whether we like it or not, we must crowd finance. We must crowd think about certain things. Whether we'll be able to sit down and have a discussion, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the next generation, we must have a discussion with them. How are they thinking? What do they want? Because we can't keep going after them. They will have to come after the solutions we have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. 30 seconds, please.
So I think just to the comment that the gentleman raised around financing. So I think I made that point clear that in order to make it affordable, in order to stimulate the demand side, it has to be a blend. And there are already ongoing discussions with critical stakeholders, the likes of NMRC, family homes, TFIs, the likes of FIABCI, where they can attack it from a single digit point of view. Commercial banks will always take a lot of it, that even your savings deposits are go at double digits. So if you blend that, they will be the channel to get those funding out because they have the breadth. But yes, it's a clear focus, and I do think it's important as an outcome of this session that there's a collaborative panel of such, a think tank that can begin to action some of these things. But I do think we need to try this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Dr. Ayo, what is affordable housing? Can we be more specific? Do you want to put figures to it? Is it the finance model? What is affordable housing?
All right, so now, depending on how you want to approach the subject of affordability. So globally, there are definitions for affordable housing via institutions like the World Bank, IFC, CDC, and the people who fund housing across the world. And that's usually denominated in US dollars. But we know that because of the volatility of the exchange rate in Nigeria, that might not be a good metric. In Nigeria, the easiest source to look for the definition of affordability will be the National Housing Fund. National Housing Fund has set a broad range of financing definitions. So the highest you could attract from the National Housing Fund for a long time was 15 million naira. And that defined what people felt was the upper limit of affordable housing. Now it has been changed, I believe, to 50 million naira by National Housing Fund. So now, when we talk about affordable housing, what people mistake is that there are two terms that we need to be clear. There is social housing. And I think when people talk about affordable housing, what they're actually referring to is social housing. And social housing is very difficult to deliver by the private sector for all the reasons that have been said today. Cost of capital, there's no affordable cement, there's no affordable infrastructure. So social housing has to be subsidized.
Yeah.
And everywhere in the world that I know, social housing is subsidized. And that's a subject that we need to direct to the right people who can talk about subsidy. Subsidy is not something you go to the private sector like UBDC to discuss, because we don't even get subsidies. So how can we pass on subsidy to my neighbor who cannot afford my house? So then the problem of affordability also talks about income levels. You cannot talk about affordability without talking about income levels. If definition of minimum wage in Nigeria is 30,000 naira, in 20 years, you cannot afford the cheapest house in Nigeria. So until we deal with the structural issues of income levels in Nigeria, as well, somebody alluded to the per capita income in Nigeria being one of the least in countries of our size. So first and foremost, we need to address the issue of how much we earn. Nigerians are not earning enough to be able to cover the cost of housing. So it's multidimensional. And so you have the definition, but really and truly, the structural issue is that until people begin to earn better, until you have the structural issues around financing and until you have the issues around how social housing is delivered, we will not be able to address the issue.
Thank you very, very much, ladies and gentlemen. On that note, we'll call it wraps. We want to say thank you. We hope something comes out from this. We hope, something is set up and it's not just another set of sound bites. We hope action comes out from it. Thank you, FIABCI. Congratulations to FIABCI at 50. Thank you for bringing us together. Thank you for this session. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.